The story of the 2004 P. Roosevelt dime is one of those remarkable numismatic tales that remind us that even the smallest coin in your pocket can hold a secret worth a fortune. At first glance, it seems like just another dime, tiny, silver in appearance, and often overlooked by most people who handle them daily without ever stopping to notice the details. Yet hidden within the production of this seemingly ordinary coin lies the potential for rarity, errors, and collector obsession that have transformed a simple 10-cent piece into a treasure capable of commanding astonishing values at auction, ranging from $35,000 to as high as $187,500. To appreciate why this coin is so captivating, we have to step back and look at its history. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose leadership through the Great Depression and World War II left an indelible mark on American history. His commitment to founding the March of Dimes to fight polio made him the perfect figure to honor on the dime, forever linking his legacy to both the coin and the cause. By 2004, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for nearly 6 decades, a familiar piece of change in every American's life. But while the design remained constant, each year's production brought subtle differences, variations in quality, and the occasional error that would make certain dimes stand out forever. The 2004 P dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the busiest facilities in the country. Billions of dimes are produced each year, but among them, a small number slip through with mistakes that turn them from everyday currency into collector's prizes. The obverse of the coin featured a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, his features sharp and dignified, with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, the date 2004, and a mint mark P that identifies its Philadelphia origin. The reverse carries the classic design by John R. Cynic, a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength, surrounded by the words United States of America, E pluribus unum, and one dime. So what makes some of these dimes from 2004 worth tens of thousands of dollars? The answer lies in mint errors and remarkable preservation. Mint errors can occur in many forms, and they are the heartbeat of excitement in coin collecting. One of the most dramatic is the double die obverse, where elements of the design appear doubled due to misalignment during die preparation. Imagine looking at Liberty or Roosevelt's profile and seeing ghost-like shadows or overlapping letters, instantly making the coin rare and valuable. Off-center strikes are another possibility, where the design is imprinted incorrectly, leaving part of the coin blank and the other part with a misaligned image. These errors are not only fascinating to study, but also visually striking, and collectors clamor to own them. Proof errors also hold special intrigue. Proof coins are usually struck with exceptional detail for collectors, but occasionally, even these carefully produced pieces suffer mistakes. A 2004 dime with a proof error, whether it's a missing detail, incorrect finish, or a striking anomaly, could easily skyrocket in value. Then there are planchet errors, instances where the metal blank used for the coin was flawed or wrong altogether. Such mistakes are incredibly rare and become legends in numismatic circles. Beyond errors, condition is everything. The vast majority of 2004 P dimes went straight into circulation, jostling around in pockets, change jars, and cash registers. Over time, their surfaces became dulled, scratched, and worn, erasing much of their mint brilliance. But a very small number survived in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, with sharp details and lustrous surfaces. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC examine these coins carefully, assigning grades on a scale that collectors trust. A 2004 P dime graded MS67 or higher is a rarity in itself and can ignite fierce bidding wars when it appears at auction. Auction houses have repeatedly showcased these coins, and each time, the prices tell a story of just how highly collectors value them. Imagine the drama. The auctioneer presents what seems like an ordinary dime, the kind you'd casually toss into a vending machine. But as the crowd realizes this particular piece is a rare 2004 P with a dramatic error or near-perfect grade, the bidding escalates quickly. Numbers climb from thousands into tens of thousands, until at last the hammer falls, sold for a price that would shock anyone who's ever dismissed a dime as just 10 cents. These moments have been repeated multiple times, building the legend of the 2004 P. Roosevelt dime and cementing its place among modern rarities. Part of the allure of this coin is psychological as well. Unlike older coins from the 1800s, which you might expect to be rare and valuable, the 2004 dime feels too recent, too ordinary to hold such potential. And yet, this is precisely what makes it so exciting. The possibility that you could encounter one in your own life. Maybe it's tucked away in an old roll of coins, or sitting unnoticed in a desk drawer, or resting quietly in a family coin jar. That sense of discovery, that lightning strike chance of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary of places, is what keeps collectors and treasure hunters searching. The Roosevelt dime itself also carries symbolic weight. Franklin D. Roosevelt was chosen for this coin because of his deep association with the March of Dimes, a campaign that brought hope and healing to countless families during the fight against polio. That connection between the man, the coin, and the cause imbues the dime with more than just monetary value. It holds emotional and historical significance, making rare examples even more cherished. Collectors who pursue the 2004 P. Roosevelt dime aren't just chasing after money. They're seeking a piece of living history, a reminder of how small details can ripple into something monumental. Each auction reinforces this idea, as bidders compete not only for ownership, but also for the thrill of holding a coin that most people would never recognize as extraordinary. The repeat appearances of these dimes at major auctions only add fuel to the fire, as stories of 5- and 6-figure sales spread throughout the numismatic community. And now comes the climax, the moment where all this history, rarity, and excitement come together. Depending on condition, variety, and error, the 2004 P. Roosevelt dime has been sold at auctions for anywhere between $35,000 and $187,500. Imagine that. A coin worth 10 cents on its face turning into nearly $200,000 under the right circumstances. That staggering leap from pocket change to life-changing value is what makes this coin legendary. The next time you glance at a dime, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Take a closer look at the details. Is there doubling on the letters? Is the strike off center? Does it gleam as though it's never been touched? You never know what you might have. That little dime in your pocket or coin jar could very well be one of the treasures collectors have been chasing for years. And as history has shown, when the 2004 P. Roosevelt dime shows up at auction, it doesn't just sell, it astonishes again and again. What if I told you that a coin most people overlook, a tiny Roosevelt dime minted in 1981 at the Denver Mint, could be worth over $200,000 today? That a piece of change you might have tossed into a tip jar or dropped into a coin counting machine could be hiding a secret that collectors are chasing across the country. It sounds unbelievable, but the truth behind a 1981 D. Roosevelt dime is stranger than fiction. And if you've ever held one in your hand, you might want to take a second look. The story begins in a year of transition. 1981 marked the first year of Ronald Reagan's presidency, a time when the U.S. economy was struggling with inflation, interest rates were high, and the country was bracing for change. Amidst all this, the U.S. Mint continued its work, producing billions of coins to keep commerce flowing. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, was still going strong. Its design hadn't changed much, but its significance had grown. It was more than just a coin. It was a symbol of resilience, leadership, and American legacy. The 1981 D. Roosevelt dime was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the most productive facilities in the country. That year, over 712 million dimes were minted in Denver alone. The coin's composition was copper-nickel clad, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, layered over a pure copper core. It weighed 2.27 grams and measured 17.9 millimeters in diameter. On the obverse, you'll find the dignified profile of President Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek. His gaze is firm, his features sharp. The inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date, 1981, frame the portrait with the designer's initials JS tucked below the neckline. Flip the coin, and you'll see the reverse design, a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing peace and strength. The words "United States of America," "E Pluribus Unum," and "One Dime" complete the design. At first glance, the 1981 D dime seems utterly ordinary. Billions were made. It's still in circulation. But not all 1981 D dimes are created equal. Some of these coins were struck with minting errors that transformed them from everyday change into collector gold. One of the most dramatic is the double die obverse. This error occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the engraving process, causing parts of the design, like Roosevelt's eye, lips, or the lettering, to appear doubled. It's subtle, but unmistakable, and when spotted, it can send the coin's value soaring. Then there are off-center strikes. These coins were struck when the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned, causing the design to shift to one side and leaving a blank crescent of metal. Some are just slightly off, while others are dramatically misaligned. Each one is unique, and the more extreme the error, the more valuable the coin. Proof errors are another category that collectors chase. Proof coins are struck on specially prepared planchets using polished dies, resulting in a mirror-like finish and sharp details. They're meant for collectors and aren't supposed to enter circulation. But sometimes, a proof coin is struck with a wrong die, or on a regular planchet, creating a hybrid that defies classification. These coins are rare, mysterious, and highly prized. And then there's the Holy Grail, high-grade specimens. Most coins from circulation are scratched, worn, and dulled by use. But just a few, escaped that fate. They were preserved in mint sets, tucked away in collections, or simply forgotten in drawers. These coins retain their original luster, their sharp details, their untouched surfaces. And when one of these pristine 1981 D dimes hits the auction block, the results can be staggering. Repeatedly, these coins have appeared in auctions, each time drawing more attention, more bids, and higher prices. One coin, graded MS-68 with flawless surfaces and razor-sharp detail, sold for $31,000. Another, a proof error with a dramatic off-center strike, fetched $89,000. And then came a shocker, a 1981 D. Roosevelt dime with a rare double die obverse and near-perfect preservation sold for an astonishing $210. 500. These aren't isolated incidents. The 1981 D dime has become a modern legend in the numismatic world. Its combination of historical significance, minting anomalies, and collector demand make it irresistible. And its value continues to climb. But it's not just about the errors. Even regular 1981 D dimes can be valuable if they're in exceptional condition. Most coins from circulation are worn down by time and use. But just a few, were tucked away, forgotten, or preserved by chance. And when one of these pristine coins hits the market, collectors take notice. The 1981 D dime also has a fascinating backstory. It was minted during a time of political and economic change, when the country was shifting toward a new era. It represents a moment in history, a snapshot of American culture, economics, and craftsmanship. It's a coin that tells a story, not just of metal and minting, but of progress and preservation. And that story continues today. Collectors scour estate sales, online marketplaces, and old rolls of coins, hoping to find the next gem. And every so often, someone does. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance turns out to be extraordinary. It happened before. It will happen again. So before you spend that next dime on a snack or toss it into a donation box, take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of history. You might be holding a fortune. Because in the world of numismatics, the line between ordinary and extraordinary is thinner than you think. And that, my friends, is the story of the 1981 D. Roosevelt dime. A coin born in abundance, reborn in rarity, and now etched into history with a value between $31,000 and $210. 500 and not bad for 10 cents. If you enjoyed this coin mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another treasure hunt. Who knows? The next coin we uncover might be sitting in your pocket right now. The 1969 Roosevelt dime may seem like just another coin that passed through millions of hands in grocery stores, gas stations, and diners across America. But to collectors and numismatists, it represents one of the most fascinating stories in the world of modern U.S. coinage. This little 10-cent piece, often overlooked and tossed aside without thought, has a history and value that make it an extraordinary treasure for those who recognize its true significance. What was once worth a dime has astonished the world by reaching values at auction ranging from $44,000 to $219,500, with repeated appearances that keep collectors on edge each time one surfaces. Truly appreciate why the 1969 Roosevelt dime holds this allure. We must step back into the period in which it was minted. The 1960s were a decade of immense transformation for America, politically, socially, and even in terms of its coinage. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the United States had transitioned away from using silver in its dimes, quarters, and half dollars, opting instead for a clad composition of copper and nickel. Rising silver prices made it unsustainable for the government to keep minting coins that were literally worth more melted down than they were in circulation. Thus, by 1969, the Roosevelt dime had fully embraced this new composition, appearing with its distinctive silver-colored surface but containing no actual silver. The obverse of the coin features the iconic left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek. Roosevelt's determined expression, along with the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," the date 1969, and the mint mark identifying the coin's origin, make the design immediately recognizable. The reverse displays a torch flanked by an olive branch on one side and an oak branch on the other, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength, all hallmarks of Roosevelt's enduring legacy. By 1969, this design had become a staple in U.S. coinage, deeply ingrained in the nation's everyday life. Why, then, does the 1969 dime stand out from other Roosevelt dimes of the clad era? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, condition, and error varieties that have captivated the numismatic world. With millions of dimes struck in 1969 at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, only a fraction have survived in top condition, and even fewer feature the kinds of striking anomalies that collectors prize. Errors such as double die obverse, misaligned strikes, off-center mintings, or planchet flaws have been documented, and each one elevates the value of these coins dramatically. The double die variety, for example, is among the most thrilling for collectors. This occurs when the coin's die, the engraved stamp used to imprint the design, receives a doubled impression during production. The result is letters or numbers that appear doubled, ghost-like, or shifted, creating a dramatic visual difference that transforms a common dime into a rare and valuable specimen. Imagine spotting "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" with doubled letters under a magnifying glass. That's the kind of detail that makes seasoned collectors' hearts race. Another fascinating error type involves off-center strikes. In these cases, the coin blank or planchet isn't properly aligned during striking, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or shifted to one side. These visually striking errors are rare for 1969 dimes, but when they do appear, they capture the imagination of collectors who recognize that such a coin is a genuine one-of-a-kind artifact. Condition is another critical factor. The vast majority of 1969 Roosevelt dimes ended up in circulation, where they were handled, scratched, and worn down over decades of use. Only a small number were set aside and preserved in pristine condition, often by accident. Coins that remained untouched, maintaining their sharp details and original luster, have since been submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC, where they've been awarded grades of MS66, MS67, or even higher. These high-grade coins are the ones that have shocked audiences at auctions, fetching tens of thousands of dollars. But perhaps the most exciting aspect of the 1969 dime story is its track record at auction. Repeatedly, examples of this coin, particularly those with dramatic errors or extraordinary condition, have crossed the block at major numismatic auctions and sold for sums that seem unthinkable for a dime. Each time, collectors compete fiercely, driving prices higher and higher. One might expect such enthusiasm for coins minted in the 1800s or rare gold pieces, but the sight of a modern dime reaching well into the six-figure range adds a level of excitement that captures headlines and spreads through the coin-collecting community like wildfire. The repeated auction appearances of these coins reinforce the sense that the 1969 Roosevelt dime is not just a footnote, but a true star of U.S. coinage. There is also a deeper layer of meaning in this dime. Franklin D. Roosevelt's placement on the coin wasn't random. It was a tribute to his role in establishing the March of Dimes, a campaign that rallied Americans to contribute small amounts of money to fight polio, the disease that had struck Roosevelt himself. The dime became a symbol of collective effort, with millions of Americans giving just a little to accomplish something great. To see that same coin, decades later, become a treasure worth over $200,000 is poetic in its own way. A small piece of change transformed into a powerful emblem of both history and value. The appeal of the 1969 dime also comes from the possibility of discovery. Unlike some coins that are locked away in museums, or known only to a handful of collectors, this coin still has the potential to surface in everyday life. A roll of dimes picked up from the bank, an old jar of coins tucked away in a closet, or even change from a vending machine could, in theory, contain one of these rarities. That possibility adds a layer of thrill for ordinary people, turning every dime they examine into a potential treasure hunt. Collectors who seek out the 1969 Roosevelt dime know they're chasing more than just metal. They are pursuing a story, one that links American history, minting technology, and the quirks of chance into a single small object. Owning such a coin means holding a piece of a larger narrative, one where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where a coin most people wouldn't glance at twice becomes the centerpiece of a world-class collection. As time passes, the rarity of pristine 1969 dimes will only increase. Coins degrade, get lost, or remain undiscovered, meaning the ones that do appear in remarkable condition or with rare errors will become ever more desirable. The numismatic market thrives on scarcity, and the 1969 dime embodies that principle perfectly. Its continued reappearances in auctions are not signs of abundance, but reminders of just how few truly exceptional examples exist, and how determined collectors are to obtain them. And now we arrive at the part that stirs imaginations and turns this story from fascinating to jaw-dropping. Depending on condition, error, and provenance, the 1969 Roosevelt dime has sold in auctions for astonishing amounts, with values ranging from $44,000 to an incredible $219,500. Think about that for a moment. A coin worth 10 cents in your hand could, under the right circumstances, change your life financially. It's a stunning leap in value, and it's happened more than once, with repeated auctions proving that collectors will continue to pay top dollar for these rarities. The next time you find yourself with a dime in hand, don't dismiss it too quickly. Look at the date, inspect the details, and imagine the stories it might hold. Could be a pristine survivor from 1969, or even one with an extraordinary error that makes it unique. While the odds are slim, the possibility is real, and as history has shown, the rewards could be life-changing. The 1969 Roosevelt dime is living proof that even the smallest and most overlooked piece of change can carry with it a legacy, a story, and a value that defies imagination. And as collectors and auction houses have demonstrated time and again, when one of these rare dimes appears, it doesn't just sell, it commands the spotlight, drawing eyes, sparking bidding wars, and reminding us all of the hidden treasures that still exist in the everyday world around us.